Key numbers. This is podcast 102. It's at the basic level and requires no knowledge of Accordance Bible software or Hebrew or Greek. This podcast continues our retrospective look at technological advances in biblical studies in honor of Accordance's 20th anniversary. In the last podcast, we compared Accordance to the printed concordances of yesteryear. However, we only compared them with regard to basic word searches. In this podcast, we'll look at key numbers, a feature once only available in the very best of concordances, but now included in every version of Accordance. What are key numbers? They are a numerical system designed to help people with no knowledge of Hebrew or Greek. They identify the most important Hebrew and Greek words, enabling those who read neither language to do basic word searches and studies. These interlinear views from the Old and New Testament display the key number system. Here's an array of some of the very best English concordances of the past. Each of these covered every word in the Bible and every occurrence of that word. They also identified the Hebrew and Greek behind the important words using key numbers. The original system was called Strong's key numbers, though Goodrick and Kohlenberger later developed a much better revised and expanded version. Accordance uses both systems, the former abbreviated S, the latter GK. These letters typically appear after a key number Bible translation's abbreviation, as in KJV S or NIV GK. Inside, the concordances look something like this. An individual word entry appeared like this, with a list of verses in which the word appeared arranged in canonical order. The word itself was abbreviated, and only a snippet of each verse was included. Both decisions based on a desire to save as much space as possible. Anything more, and the concordance would have simply been too heavy to carry. The right column contains the key number for the word in each individual verse. A person would find the verse he or she wanted, then look up the key number in the back of the concordance. Those individual articles looked like this. Now, I began my own career in biblical studies in this era. We could all find what we needed in time, but boy did it take a lot of time. I don't miss this part at all. Why use key numbers, you ask? Well, the Bible was written in Hebrew and Greek. Most of us read it in translation, but it is really hard to pick up all its nuances in translation. For one thing, words in one language usually don't have an exact match in another language. Here, let's look at an example. The word love in English has a very wide range of meanings. That makes it far too easy to read our own cultural ideas into the Bible. Here's a list of 14 different uses of the noun love from the American Heritage Dictionary. By contrast, all of the ancient Greek words for love have a much narrower range, a fact which often leads to confusion in interpreting the Bible. After all, some people say, the Bible says to love everyone. What's wrong with making love to lots of different people? It's easier to answer this question using a graphic. Here's the range of meanings for the English word love. Notice it means everything from attraction to affection to sex, charity. It's even used as the equivalent for a 0 score in tennis. The word philos, in Greek, has a much narrower range, centering around the idea of affection. In the Bible, the word agape has come to mean unconditional or godly love, though it originally seems to have meant something like welcome or acceptance. The Greek eros, in contrast, centers around the idea of sexual passion and desire, while the Greek storge is the fond emotion between unequals, as between children and their parents, a ruler and his subjects, or a dog and its master. Now, the Bible says that we should show philos and agape to those around us. It never recommends we do so with eros. In fact, that word doesn't even appear in the New Testament. An English study on the word love ignores all these distinctions, and we haven't even mentioned the various Hebrew words for love. This is just one example, and there are many, many others. This is why word studies should always be done in the original Hebrew or Greek. Key numbers help us do just that. So why not just learn Hebrew or Greek? Well, that's what scholars like myself generally recommend. But there are a lot of people who are interested in the Bible that just don't have the time or money. They're working at other jobs, raising a family, going to school, involved in ministry, and 1,001 other things that simply have higher priority. They aren't interested in spending a couple of years learning an ancient language before beginning to study the Bible. And it really does take that long. Let's take a look at just a bit of what's involved. Hebrew and Greek both use alphabets with non-Roman characters, which is just one of the obstacles to learning a biblical language. Original language lexicons arrange words and their definitions in alphabetical form by lemma or lexical form, but that's only one of the many different forms a word can take. That means we must identify the lexical form of each word before we can find it in that lexicon, using that unfamiliar alphabet. Oh, and don't forget that Hebrew reads right to left, not left to right like English. It's all rather much for all but the most dedicated people. Here's what I mean, and how key numbers can make things much simpler. One of the Greek verbs for love, agapao, appears 143 times in the Greek New Testament, in 39 different forms. However, we can search for it with just a single key number, G0025. That number will find every occurrence, every form. One of the Hebrew words for love, ahav, appears 217 times in the Hebrew Bible, in 45 different forms. But once again, we can search for it with just a single key number, H0157. So why not just use an old printed concordance? Well, accordance is not only faster and easier, but it makes key numbers even more powerful. How? Well, I'm glad you asked. Key numbers are at the heart of 5 different accordance features, allowing it to bridge different languages and language resources. These features are instant details, cross-highlighting, the dynamic interlinear, key number search, and quick lookup. Let's take a look at each of these in turn. Instant details. With accordance, there's no need to use a concordance to find a word's key number. As we move our cursor over words in a key numbered text, the key numbers appear automatically in instant details, along with their original language lemmas and their pronunciations. If we have a grammatically tagged original language text installed, instant details also displays parsing information. Press the Command key, and the definition appears from the linked key number dictionary, along with the relevant article from our favorite Bible dictionary. Press the Option key, and Instant Details appears as a pop-up window, which can then be scrolled so we can read both articles in their entirety. Cross-highlighting. Accordance's cross-highlighting feature provides quick visual indicators of the corresponding word in parallel tagged texts. Here's how it works. Behind the scenes, Accordance identifies the English word, then its assigned key number. It links that to the corresponding Hebrew lemma, then searches for the Hebrew word derived from the lemma in that verse. What's amazing is that it does all this so very, very fast. Even when multiple texts and languages are displayed, and where cross-highlighting applies to another translation, Accordance finds the word in that translation tagged with that specific key number. Dynamic Interlinear. In the same way, key numbers lie at the heart of Accordance's Dynamic Interlinear. It's a fully customizable view of the biblical text, which uses any tagged text as its base, and then arranges other versions in parallel columns underneath, word by word. How do we tie all these different translations together? With key numbers. Key number search. Accordance also allows us to search by key number, so we can find every place the original word appears in the Bible, no matter how it was translated. Just select any word, right-click, and select Search for Key Number. Look at all the different words the King James translators used to translate the Greek word logos. Quick lookup. There are lots of biblical resources that use key numbers to help users find the right information. Many of them are available in Accordance. However, Accordance users can use any of the scholarly lexicons in the field, even if they have never memorized the Greek or Hebrew alphabets or have no idea how to find the lemma of a word. We simply select the word we're interested in, press the Option key, PC Alt, and choose the resource. Accordance automatically replaces the key number with a correct Hebrew or Greek lemma and then looks it up in that resource. The accordance speak for that process is called amplify. Now how's that for bypassing years of foreign language study? I hope you've enjoyed this week's blast from the past. There has never been a better time to be in biblical studies. The resources we have dwarf those of every previous generation. Accordance has been a big part of that over the last 20 years, and I am proud to be associated with this company and with its fine software. This has been Dr. J for Accordance Bible Software. Thank you for watching this episode of Lighting the Lamp.